And we will be the ones who will be held accountable if we fail to require accurate information, a thorough business plan, and full transparency.
That was Assemblyman Jim Patterson early this past week introducing a bill that passed unanimously the year before, only to be vetoed by the governor. This time around, that bill did not even get out of committee. Our panel this morning is a very good one. Reporter Tim Sheehan with the Fresno Bee. Good to see you, sir. And KC24 political analyst Jim Verros. Always nice having you here, Jim. Tim, let me ask you, I mean, what in the world happened here? Last year, the Democrats, the Republicans, everybody liked this bill and signed off on it, except for Jerry Brown. This year, Democrats aren't for. What's up?
I don't know if there's a good explanation, Evan. I think what you may be seeing is fallout from a little more Democratic strong-arming of the leadership of their members this time around. Governor Brown made it clear when he vetoed the bill last year that he wasn't going to go along with this, and I think perhaps the Assembly and Senate leaderships are taking their cue from that.
And I kind of wanted to ask, Jim, you being the political analyst here, we see this a lot from politicians when they kind of run into a brick wall and then they decide to run into that brick wall one more time or repeatedly. Why would Jim Patterson put this bill right back out there, even though the governor still has the veto power to veto it once again?
I think he's hell-bent on having the governor have him move his office on top of Dad's Burgers on J and 10th Street. I don't think he wants to be around at all anymore. No, I think, listen, when you're in the minority like Republicans are in Sacramento, when you have a chance to be on that soapbox, you're going to beat your chest as hard and as fast as possible. I think with the Democrats, I think in 2016, it was an accountability bill. So I think when everyone's running for office, you never want to be on a commercial or radio ad saying that you're against an accountability bill, but you're not running for office right now. Right. It's off season. That's so now you get to go, okay, well, it's not really an accountability bill. It's Jim's bill. And he's a crazy Republican from Fresno. So I think that's how the Democrats handle it up in Sacramento. With Assemblyman Patterson, I think he has an opportunity to get on that soapbox and beat his chest a little bit, and he has to. I mean, you're in the super minority.
And when it comes to high-speed rail, he loves doing that. High-speed rail, by the way, Tim, I mean, it's still some really undecided times when we get out into the real world with the project, the financing. Jeff Morales announcing he's stepping down, the CEO. But still in Sacramento, unwavering support from Democrats. And it looks like it's going to continue that way.
Pretty much.
I want to talk about another bill that's making headlines late this week, and that's a bill about a single-payer health care plan here in California, universal health care in California. It has passed committee in the Senate. Already, Jim, some small business groups are coming out against this pretty hard.
I think small business groups are going to come out, but the real groups you have to keep an eye on is some of the heavy nationwide lobbies, the American Hospital Association and groups like that. When you take a look at this bill, they're still not talking about how they're going to pay for any of this. This is just how it would be structured and who would be covered. The other thing is that the federal government kicked in last year about $120 billion in Medicaid. So the question is there going to be another war? And we've been seeing this on other fronts between the White House and the state of California. How much of this is fact and actually trying to get a single payer system put in there, and how much of this is just politics throwing hand grenades back and forth between the White House and Sacramento?
These days it certainly could be that. I mean, if something like this were to pass, Tim, you almost can't say how much it would change the state radically in a lot of ways.
It'd be huge. If you consider that Medicare is already essentially a single payer type of system on the federal level for senior citizens, it's an expansion of that idea, but the cost is huge, or the cost is unknown. The mechanisms are unknown, and I don't know if it could be done without the federal government kicking in lots of money.
I also think if Sacramento's smart and they want to keep the American Hospital Association off their backs, they're going to make sure that illegal immigrants that are here are covered. They're saying it is, but that's the one way that they'll be able to maybe keep those profits where they need to be.
Because they make a lot of money.
Sure do.
They absolutely do. Tim, I did want to ask you about an article you wrote this past week.
Yeah.
A lot of county supervisors, they want the same type of discretionary spending accounts that they had when they worked, say, on city councils. And I found this was interesting.
Yeah, it was. At least the two supervisors who are veterans of the Fresno City Council are looking for that. You've got two who are, I think, dead set against it. You've got one, Nathan Magzig from Clovis, who is sort of walking a tightrope on that. But Andres Borges and Sal Quintero, who have both served on the city council, they're used to having a discretionary pot of money that they can use to fix a resident's pothole or something like that, or a crack in the sidewalk when the Public Works Department can't get around to it quickly enough, or to throw at an organization to sponsor an event or to help a nonprofit.
And there's a lot of talk about how exactly that money is spent, and that's where some of these supervisors really don't like this idea.
Right.
Right. And from what I'm hearing, Supervisor Borges, Mendez, and Pacheco, they want that mechanism in place to where they can move some, some itemized, if they were to spend $5 on pencils and they wanted to move it to something else, they can. But I think those three supervisors are still dead set against having any supervisor being able to donate money to events of any kind, because you're taking taxpayer money and donating it to an organization. That gets really, really hairy.
They say some of that should come out of their own pocket. If they want to support something, then they should pay for it themselves.
Right, and that was the point that Buddy Mendez made. It's like, if I want to sponsor something, I'll write a check out of my own account.
Okay.
And I think Borges echoed that sentiment. He's dead set against the sponsorships. He likes the idea of being able to do constituent services with that. One of the important things to note is that this wouldn't be an additional pot of money, but savings from within their own district office budgets. Whereas at the city council, it's been an extra pot of money. This year in the budget, it's $50,000 per district.
I wanted to move on really quick. We only have about a minute left. There was that audit of the University of California system. They found millions and millions of dollars of what they say was unused and really hidden money that was not being used for anything. Already Gavin Newsom, I know, Jim, has come out and said, well, they just voted to raise tuition. They should roll that back immediately.
If I would have told you at the beginning of the year that Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom and the National Review would have agreed on something in regards to California upper education, you would have thrown me off this show, because there's no way that would have happened. It happened this week. I'm sorry, but when you raise the tuition that much and say you're broke, and then you find out that there's $175 million in an account, and your only response is, well, it's not really 175, it's only like 38. Get out of here. I mean, are you kidding me? I'm sorry, but that is not an excuse, and that's why I think the Lieutenant Governor came out and said, this is ridiculous.
When it comes to somebody like Janet Napolitano, I mean, what sort of effects can this have on her and other people in the board when it comes to UC?
I think it's probably going to have a chilling effect that I think we'll see how it really rolls out next. I think the legislature, some legislative hearings are scheduled for next week. Whether she'll survive, who knows? Whether the board will enact any changes to toughen up their accounting is unknown. I mean, there's a certain level of autonomy that the UC system has had that perhaps that could get rolled back by the state.
And you talk about people who are running for office and talking about things. Gavin Newsom is running for office. We're actually going to be mentioning him right after the break. The tweet of the week coming up right after this. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Evan.